Good evening, and welcome to podcast number 24. I am the king of all mediums, and I'd like to welcome you tonight. So it's a beautiful day. Again, only day you have, so make the most of it. Make the most of every day. No day to be depressed. So today I'm going to talk about the four rich guys in the United States: Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, and Mark Zuckerberg, and my opinions on them. And then we'll go through four finds, and they'll close it up. Hopefully, we won't go too long tonight. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about my background in terms of money. I came from a white privileged family. I lived in a tenement on West 183rd Street in Grand Avenue. My father supported 9 people in a 3-bedroom tenement on the first floor. He had a retail sales job in a camera store. Okay, so you can imagine he was under a great deal of stress, and he had his first heart attack at 43 in 1969. Who were the 9 people? There were 6 kids, him, my mother, and my grandmother, whose husband died in 1960. So she came down from Rochester, New York, and lived with us until she eventually, until we moved in 1971. We moved to, notifications. we moved to, um, we moved to Co-op City in the Bronx. She got her own apartment there in 1971, let's say. So 71, I guess it was the time. So I grew up, basically my mother always wanted us to take the boys. She, wanted us to take the safe route, work for the state. That was her big motto, and it actually happened for me. 2 of my brothers too. They eventually saw through the communist plot, and they became successful as certified public accountants. Well, I actually, diddled and daddled here and daddled there, and eventually ended up working for the state. So, it's not a very lucrative career. And the state further says, okay, so not only we're not going to pay a lot of money, but you can't work for anyone else. You can't work a second job, else you get fired. Unless you got to tell us first. So that's not a good thing. She kind of raises when money was bad, which is kind of odd. Like, you figure Jewish family, they would kind of raise you that, money's good, make a lot of money, you're attractive, you have a good job, you have a good career. But for some reason, my mother always was, like, cautious of money, that, basically her life plan was, you didn't have to make a lot, but you just make it enough that you saved a little, and that was it. You saved a little, you bought a house, and But I didn't think she saw how expensive houses would become, and that you needed a little more than. You needed a little more, and 2 of my brothers became certified accountants. One of them, I have another brother. He became an excellent programmer, and 2 sisters. One, she's doing well for herself, and she works as some kind of YMHA, or whatever that is. And another one, she married a rich guy. So everyone's doing quite well, except probably for me in terms of financially. So I never really was into money. I always thought, I get a job, make money, and save money, but then I found out it wasn't true, and that it's like a business. You got to make more, and you got to take in more than you let out. And most of my life, I was letting out more, I was taking in. So my attitude, was about money. It was a bad thing. I always had a bad relationship with money. I always thought, wow, it's an evil thing, it's always scary, And then, I started getting a lot of anxiety about money, I remember walking one day in Flushing, I said, well, every day I gotta have enough money to pay the rent, and, it's like, I started getting a lot of anxiety, and all the people I was looking around, they gotta get enough money to pay the rent. So I had a very bad relationship with money. Then I started to change my mind. I thought, money's a good thing, it shows For two things. It shows your ability to save it, save the money. It shows value, right? So it shows two things: to acquire it and then to save it. So a lot of people can make money, but can they save it? They can be efficient with it. So now, in recent years, we've had some of the cognitively elite have figured out ways to accumulate massive fortunes, okay? And this hasn't gone down well with some people in the United States. There's a big wealth gap, okay? And there's a lot of people that are struggling, which is true. You cannot deny this. Whether you're a liberal, a conservative. Conservative. You can't deny this. And I'm tend to be conservative. You cannot deny this. Now, the question is, how do you bridge this gap? Okay, do you route from Peter to pay Paul, or as conservatives say, tough luck? So what do you do now? So my attitude is money has changed, and maybe I was younger. I was 26 when I was trying to pick up those hot chicks in Greenwich Village, and they were blowing me up. I might have said, hey, route from these rich cocksuckers, because they're taking all the money and doing it illegally, and now my theory has kind of changed. So my theory is that anyone could do this, really. Anyone. I mean, sure, the four of these guys, I don't know much about Zuckerberg's background. But, most of them came from a pretty good environment, in terms of income from poor environments. I know that Gates came from a nice, WASP environment, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. He had a lot of privilege, which didn't have the white privilege. So I think it's not so much you have the white privilege. You have some, they needed to get to where they are. They did have some economic advantages, that they were able to, take advantage of this. But they did have also something called they were cognitively advantaged, okay? And Sam Harris talks about this a lot, and he really expounds on this much better than me. Now, the famous book, The Bell Curve, which caught a lot of heat in society, which was written by Charles Murray and Richard Herrnstein in 1993. Richard Herrnstein died before I think it was published. And then the whole book was about this, really, about the cognitive elite and the dangers that it pose. What would happen was there would be a massive wealth gap because of it, and that's exactly what has happened. And how would society deal with it? Now, most people focus on the chapter, which said basically that African Americans had lower IQs than whites, and whites had lower IQs than Asians. Okay, so that was most people focused on. And Charles Murray went to Middlebury College in Vermont, and they try to attack him, and they end up injuring the person who brought him. He was bringing him there to show what a racist he was. So they end up actually, but that was basically where they wanted to get at. So they shouldn't have not include that chapter. There's just one chapter on that, about the differences in IQs between the races. The Asians being the highest, the whites being the second, and the African Americans being the third. Okay, so whatever the differences are, wasn't that important. The more important point was these cognitively advantaged people would be, and that's what's happened. So basically, what we call these four guys have an advantage over you and me because they are very high. They have very high IQs. So Bezos, Gates, Musk, and Zuckerberg are basically geniuses, and they've taken that genius level IQ and they've added to a little business savvy, and they've converted into billions of dollars. And I think as of now, Elon Musk is on top of that. He's close to $200 $1 billion. These are, unheard amounts. No one could have imagined this. And we say, well, how long is it be before we have a trillionaire? Could happen quite soon. So, so now the question is, what do we do about this? So I go on Twitter and I read everyone's comments. The most famous was Robert Reich calling Elon Musk a modern day Robert Barron, and Elon Musk tweeting back to Robert Reich calling him a modern day moron. Okay, which I thought was kind of funny. And I was thinking, why shouldn't Elon Musk? He's created a great product. Let's face it. The Tesla car is just a great product. The guy's a genius. The guy is modern day Thomas Edison. If Thomas Edison would have lived today, this is what he would be. Okay, so why shouldn't this guy not earn a good living? He works who knows how many hours a day. No one's I know. Follow this guy with a camera. He works. He does. I'm sure a lot more than you and me. Maybe you do, and I'm sure he works very hard, and he's found his passion in life. And maybe you and me do jobs we don't like, and we do it inefficiently, and we don't produce great results, and we were unlucky. And he found what he likes, and he also has these tremendous cognitive gifts that very few people have. It's just the way it is. It's like LeBron James. How many people are that tall, 6'9", and can jump that high or that fast? There's just 1 in 70 billion, whatever. And it's 75 billion. They kind of figured that people live on planet Earth, and there's never been a LeBron James, and he's finally come. And maybe like 1,000 years from now, 2,000 years from now, he goes, yes, we'll have Jameism, and they'll pray to LeBron James. So these are outliers. He's an outlier, and so a lot of people they're not so upset as Musk, because Musk has like a product. It's kind of environmentally sound, which I don't know about. So you get the electricity, but where's the electricity come from? You gotta get electricity from somewhere. I guess you get it from solar. Where are you getting this electricity from? Something has to carbon emissions. I guess you could get it from wind energy or something. So maybe you're not polluting the environment. Carbon is not going into the environment as much. So Musk, I think of the four, you would have to say is the least, probably the least hated. Let's go to Gates. Bill Gates, William Gates the third. So he's the oldest of them. He's probably 67, 68 years old, and he formed Microsoft Corporation. And Microsoft, his genius was his business savvy, really. Although he did develop the operating system, MS-DOS, he basically got IBM to get by his operating system by offering it at a cheaper cost to other competitors. And the cheaper cost, he understood that it wasn't the hardware that was important to the computer, it was the software. And then after getting a hold of that, he basically understood now everyone, the personal computers as beck and call. And then his scabbiness really went on to things like, Netscape Navigator, no need, email programs, no need, because he basically provided everything for free. So now he has the operator, he's basically the computer, because everything with the computer is the software and everything comes for free. So he basically sells you Windows 10 or whatever. The computer comes with Windows 10, and he gives you the license, and they buy and you buy the license along with the computer, and he's a very rich man. So who knows how much he's worth? Probably $85 billion. He even gives a lot of his money away. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So one thing you could say for him, at least he gives a lot of his money away. So he's a very generous man. One interesting thing, he owns the most farmland of anyone in the United States. I don't know what that means. There's a lot of conspiracy theorists that think He's going to say, Alex Jones thinks he's going to set up FEMA camps or something. I don't know. But anyway, so, once you give someone that much money, you start to worry maybe he's going to get a little power, he could start his own nation, By the way, Elon Musk wants to build his own city in Texas. He had enough of California because of their taxes and their red tape, so he moved to Texas. Now he's talking about building his own city. You get money, you can do certain things, So those are two of the interesting cases. Zuckerberg, probably in the late 70 billions. I mean, I don't know much about him, except his wife's not that attractive. All I know is I've had some problems on Facebook. I used the term white trash, and I was banned for a month. I guess it's a grading term. It's offensive towards black people, because if you think about it, if you use white trash, that means white people can be trashy or not trashy. There's no black trash. That implies that all black people are trashy. There's the implication there. So I guess that's where the racist element is. So I was banned for a month. So Zuckerberg is a very rich man, and a lot of people hate him, of course. Probably number one because he's Jewish. Okay, of the four, he's the only Jewish member of the elite four. He's done a lot of scabby things, I'm sure. Of the four, I know at least about him. He's not a well-liked man. He's into a lot of the woke causes, he's always has advertised, he has those buttons, press this, and you get a certain donation to black causes, and I don't press those buttons, of course, if you guess. Charity begins at home. Okay, charity begins at home. You don't have any money? Don't give to charity. I once did give to Wikipedia. I do appreciate Wikipedia. I think they do a good job. I gave like $5. I thought that was, So if you don't have any money, you don't give to charity. Sorry. I view people to entertain with. I have to give you my music and my these notifications. I need it from this account. Okay, so brings us to the last guy, and the richest guy until recently, Jeff Bezos. And he's not Hispanic. The Bezos came from, I think his mother remarried. He was born in 1964. He's actually a year or so older than me. Now, one thing you gotta like about Bezos, he is a self-made man, went to Princeton, took engineering, very smart, cognitively gifted man, and he started an online bookstore in his garage. He said, it's a real pain in the ass. Wouldn't it be nice if you could order the book online, books gets delivered to your house to the mail? Sure enough, the idea caught on very rapidly, and I think it was 1994, and what happened was, it happened so quickly. He immediately had to buy a warehouse. He made so much money, and then it became more than books. It became records. It became household goods and household items, and he just became so rich so fast. So Bezos, Jeff Bezos, or Bezos, whatever you pronounce his name, and just a multi-billionaire, a centi-billionaire, this man, second richest man in the world as of the moment, but this could change any second, just by opening an online bookstore. Anyone else could have done this. Anyone. You, me, okay, anyone could have done this, Then, just took a little risk, a little business acumen. I mean, of course, he was a little smarter than us. I mean, it wasn't engineering, it wasn't math, online bookstore, Of course he thought big. So there's this great book, I never read it, The Magic of Thinking Big, So you have to think big sometimes. He thought, well, I'll open an online bookstore. Everyone would probably say, what are you, nuts? What are you, stupid? But he did it, and he thought big, and he took out a loan, and got his garage was crowded with books. How did he set it up? I had to have some inventory first, right? The books, all these books. He had enough to satisfy people. Want to know? Probably people would order books. He didn't even have them, so he probably didn't have to buy them. Figure out a way to get. But he did it, and he figured it out. And so what's the common factor with all these guys? They did something. They took a risk, and I have no problems with them. Why do people have problems with them? They were brilliant. They figured out a way out. And instead of congratulating them, people are angry at them. And it makes sense. People are jealous. I have no jealousy against them. They did it. They did a great job. You should be commending these people. So instead, people are, woke protests in front. Okay, so the bad thing about Bezos, if I was Bezos, I'd give $20 an hour. There would be no unions, there would be no problems. But he's kind of a dick, let's face it. So he wouldn't be he'd be maybe 80, 90 billionaire. But why does he need so much money? Okay, but it's his right. It's his money. I have no right to tell him how to spend his money, and you have no right either. So they had protests, or all these people in front of his townhouse in Washington, But you have no rights. You have no right. If he doesn't want to have a union, then let them fight for the union. And if he can't, to the best person win. Again, I have no problem with the Amazon workers having a union. None. And if he doesn't want to, he'll fight back, But that's his business, So, so these four guys they all did dicky things, But except for, I think Musk, the thing that the right had against Musk was that he cut the pay. So basically Musk, what he did, he cut the pay, but he gave him, in place of the pay, he gave him stock. And that's why he was so upset, Musk, because he said, well, I gave him stock instead. You're a modern day moron. So then Robert Reich, he's a real idiot. So instead of doing research and finding out what was instead of the pay cut, he didn't do research. And he's a real schmuck, Robert Reich, a real leftist idiot. Okay, let's go to the four finds today. Okay, first find is a cassette. Now, I used to have this in CD, and it's funny, this artist starting with his Lonesome Jubilee album, created four really great albums. Lonesome Jubilee, Big Daddy, Whenever We Want, Human Wheels Whenever We Want. I think that's the correct order. And this cassette, it was only 99 cents. Great deal. You can't beat that, right? 99 cents for this. A great album, by the way. It's just called John Cougar Mellencamp. Finally got rid of the Cougar, I think, after this. John Mellencamp. They made him say Cougar because your name Mellencamp is not too good. John Cougar. I don't know why he accepted that. Only John M. So what's on this? Sidewalk. Big Daddy, I don't know, great song. To Live, okay. Martha Say, Theo and Weird Henry. Jackie Brown, that's a great song. My friend once sang that about me. It's basically about a guy who's down and out. It's not getting laid, doesn't have any money. Sounds like me. Side 2, Pop Singer, great song. Void in My Heart. Mansions in Heaven, that's a great song. Sometimes Great Notion, very good song. Country Gentleman, interesting enough, that's about, that song could be translated today, it was about Ronald Reagan, but that could actually, have been about Donald Trump. You don't care, basically the lyrics, you don't care about the children, you don't care about the mothers, yeah. So who's paying for these women to have babies? Who's paying? Woman has a baby. How are they going to afford? How's a woman going to have? It's difficult. I'm not going to, listen, I'm a kind of conservative, but I understand, you have a baby. What happens to the guy? Runs out on you. It happens all the time. We understand this stuff. And JMS questions. So, excellent album. Highly recommended. Again, if you don't want to buy it, you go to your YouTube, or you got Amazon Prime, or you got Spotify, and look this baby up. John Mellencamp, Big Daddy. Okay. All right, let's go to the second album. Now, this group is a great group, but I tweeted 3 selections from them I think it was yesterday, Saturday, and everyone wants to hear White Rabbit, White Rabbit, White Rabbit. There are other songs with White Rabbit, people. Come on. And this group is the Jefferson Airplane. And they are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. If they made one song besides White Rabbit and Somebody to Love, you'd think, right? So this is the Crown of Creation. Three of them, they four great albums. I think everyone should get is After Bathing at Baxter's Surrealistic Pillow. It's actually the order: Surrealistic Pillow, Crown of Surrealistic Pillow, After Bathing at Baxter's, Crown of Creation, and Volunteers. I'm probably gonna get all of them. I finally got this one. I tweeted actually off the Worst of Jefferson Airplane, which is the greatest hits. So let's see what's on that. Lather, great song, written by the beautiful Grace Slick. Beautiful piano chords. In Time, okay. Triad's interesting, written by David Crosby. It's basically about a menage a trois. Basically, David Crosby wanted a life where he'd have just two women. It was so risque, but the Jefferson Airplane offered to cover it. Star Trek, not Trek. Share a Little Joke. Chushingura, which is interesting enough, is written by Spencer Dryden, their drummer. Just a little aside. The original group of the Jefferson Airplane was Marty Ballin and Sid Tully Anderson, where they also had a lead female singer, a lead male singer. Bass was the great Jack Cassidy. Yarmulke Conan was on lead guitar, and Paul Kantner on rhythm guitar, and Skip Spence on drums. What happened? Sid Anderson, after the first album, decided she wanted to start a family and left the group, and Skip Spence also left the group. So what happened? There was an opening at vocals, so they went and got the lead singer for the Great Society, who brought over two songs. One was Somebody to Love, which was written by her brother-in-law, Darby Slick, and her own penned composition, White Rabbit. And that's when they really took off. And on drums, they hired a guy named Spencer Dryden, who was eventually fired in 1970 and replaced by a guy named Joey Covington. So let's continue. If You Feel, Crown of Creation, which is the hit off this, which went to number 6. Ice Cream Phoenix, Greasy Heart, that's a good song that's written by Grace Slick. And The House at Pooneil Corners, kind of a Winnie the Pooh mixed with Fred Neil. There's also a song on an earlier, I think it was at Bating and Back, there's The Ballad of You and Me and Pooneil. Okay, so that was like a follow-up to that. Okay. Oh. No, not good. Okay. So my favorite song by the Monkees is Sometime in the Morning. So it's not on any greatest hits things. It's a Jerry Goff and Carole King song. So I went on the eBay and I looked up the conditions, said very good plus. So I went and bought this album. It's pretty cheap. More of the Monkees, their second LP. And of course I get it, and it's full of skips and scratches, and I wanted to give negative feedback, but of course they don't let you for 7 days. So I actually had to buy it again on CD. I'm getting very frustrated with albums and 8-track tapes. So I think I'm going to all cassettes, and might change it to 2 now. But I do like the vinyls. I think people love the vinyls because I actually see the best, the most views happen with vinyl. So it's something that I'm going to have to reconcile. Okay, so side 1, what's on that? She, great song, Boyce and Hart composition. I think the first guy, Boyce, eventually offed himself. I don't know why. When Love Comes Knocking at Your Door, Neil Sedaka and Sandra Bayer. Not a great song. Mary, Mary, Michael Nesmith. Okay. Hold On. It's not that great song. Your Auntie Griselda. I never liked that song. It's kind of meh. I'm Not Your Stepping Stone, another Boyce and Hart composition. Good song. Yeah. Not a great song, good song. Let's go to side 2. You can't even clean it. It's not dirty. It just has a lot of scratches in it. Side 2, look out, here comes tomorrow. Great song by Neil Diamond. Look out, here comes tomorrow. Great song. The Kind of Girl I Could Have, Michael Nesmith and Roger Atkins, I do believe. Nothing special. The Day We Fall in Love, Lucy Linzer and Denny Rondell. Okay. Meh. Now my favorite song of all time, of course I was skipping it. The second favorite song by the Monkees, Sometime in the Morning. A great song, Jerry Goff and Carole King. And the fifth song is Laugh, that is Madras P. Margot and Margot Siegel. Nothing special. And it ends, of course, with another Neil Diamond track. What a genius he was. I'm a believer when I saw her face. Now I'm a believer. I mean, I see a lot of girls' faces. They say I'm a believer, but they don't believe in me. More of the Monkees. So I'm going to get this on each track. All right, I'll put that up later. All right. So the last thing of the day is, well, pretty long podcast today. How do you clean a record? Now, let me show you. So we have our dirty record. It's actually not that dirty. It just has a bunch of scratches. What did this guy do? Just put his nails on it? It could be a woman. Dirty record. See, the problem, okay, you have a dirty record, you can wash it. You have a dusty, staticky record, you could do this, what I'm going to do. But you have a scratch record, you can't do anything. Let me demonstrate how you clean a record. Now, first issue might be if you're an animal lover. Now, one of the best materials to get is, so you got to get something, first of all, that's anti-static. Because the two enemies of any record, what the heck? I'm having a good day today. Okay, come on. Sunday night, gotta throw out the garbage tonight. Okay, got it, okay? So you gotta have this first of all, nice brush, dust brush. Get all the dust down first if you have any dust. Okay, now make sure your hands are full. Okay. Now, put this, you gotta have this. This is like a leather mat. This is good. It's probably the best material. I mean, if you're a vegetarian, you love animals. I mean, the animal's dead already, so to me it doesn't matter. Just get the damn thing. Okay, so you put the mat on, you can put it on any surface, you put it on a turntable, and you put the record on the mat, right? So now the static is being reduced, and I'm having trouble with this all of a sudden. All right, let's see what happens here. Oh, good, I'm at the 30. This is going to be a long podcast. Okay, hold on. Try to make this part quick. Okay, so now you got your record, right? You have your dust thingy. So what you do is you take all the dust, and you bring it to one thing, right? Bring it to one spot on the record, right? So let's say it's right here. And then on the edge of the table, what you do, you knock it off. Now, so you get a table and you just push it off, right? And one thing, the dust won't get attracted to the other side of the record because you got the static off. And you do the same thing to the other side. Right? Do the same thing. Dust will gather, right? Right? Dust will gather. I don't know if you can see it. And you just push it off, right off the edge. So, make sure it pushes off the edge of it falls onto the floor. You got to get something anti-static. So, again, the two enemies of a record are dust and static. Okay, thank you. Today was March 17th. March 17th, that's St. Patrick's Day. Wow, and I didn't realize it also was daylight savings time, So I woke up today and said, wait a second, when's daylight savings time? It's also St. Patrick, very quiet because of COVID, whatever. Okay, so it's March 17th, 2021, and we will be back tomorrow with another podcast and also Tuesday. Okay, so thank you and have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.